Imagine your company's most valuable assets. I mean, not the buildings, not the cash in the bank, but something. Oh, well, something much more intangible, right? And often much more powerful. It's unique insights, those innovative ideas, the secret sauce that really makes your organization tick. That's your proprietary information. And look, in today's world, protecting it isn't just important, it's existential, really. Today, we're diving deep into exactly that, how organizations can, stop this invaluable stuff from walking out the door. Our mission, to give you a kind of shortcut, a roadmap to building genuinely robust security. Think of it like a modern Fort Knox, but for your data. We've been working with this really comprehensive checklist, detailed recommendations. It's almost like a blueprint. And just for full transparency, we should mention, this script was prepared by Yazan Abu-Ghosh, a certified fraud examiner, collaborating with EasyPathUni, the original template. That's from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and Yazan Abu-Ghosh reviewed it.
Right. And when we talk about theft of proprietary information, what we're really drilling down on is the theft or disclosure of confidential info, trade secrets, usually for financial gain. But the key insight here isn't just the definition, it's understanding that preventing it, that really boils down to having the right controls, proper systematic controls in place from day one, right through the whole life cycle of that information. Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. So we're going to look at this in a structured way, right? The foundational policies first, then the tech that protects the digital side, and maybe the trickiest part, the human element. So where do we even begin building this defense? It feels like the absolute basics have to be those policies, the agreements that lay the groundwork. Why are they so fundamental? What's the biggest mistake companies make right at the start? Well, it's easy to just see policies as, paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
A necessary evil, maybe.
Yeah.
But the real insight, they force you as an organization to ask that fundamental question.
Yeah.
What actually makes us unique? What's valuable? And where are we vulnerable? If you skip that step, that sometimes difficult process of formally defining and classifying things, figuring out what's sensitive, for how long, how it should be handled, you're basically trying to protect a ghost.
Ah, okay. So companies just assume everyone knows what's secret.
Exactly. And that leads to inconsistent protection. It's a common pitfall. And then beyond just defining it, it's crucial that employees who get access sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, explicitly agreeing not to spill the beans.
Makes sense.
And for companies in really competitive fields, non-competes are often just as vital, stopping key people from jumping straight to a rival for a set period.
Okay, so you've got the policies written down, but that's not enough, right?
Yeah.
What's the biggest hurdle in making sure they actually, work day to day, that people get it?
That's such a critical point. Training. It's absolutely paramount. Employees need consistent, clear training. They need to know what is proprietary information, understand their personal responsibility to protect it, and, of course, know the company's specific rules and procedures.
So not just a one-off during onboarding.
Definitely not.
Right.
This has to build a culture of security. It's about making everyone feel like they're part of the security team, empowering them. Plus, you need that overall information security policy, something that clearly spells out the company's stance, employee responsibilities, what hardware and software is okay, what's not, and the consequences. And that needs to be communicated to everyone. Clarity is key. It closes loopholes, avoids those I didn't know moments.
And I guess these policies can't just gather dust on a shelf, right? What's the danger if they get outdated?
Oh, absolutely. If you connect this to the bigger picture, a stale policy, it's like a ticking time bomb. Think about it, building your defenses based on last year's threats. When the attackers are using completely new methods, it doesn't work. That annual review, it's not just bureaucracy. It's the lifeline that keeps your defenses relevant. Management has to review and update everything, all the InfoSec policies, at least once a year, minimum.
Okay, foundation laid. Policies are in place, people are trained, they're getting reviewed. How does an organization then protect this information day to day, both physically and digitally? How do we build that fortress around the actual data?
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is how multi-layered it has to be. It starts with simply making sure sensitive information is secured properly when it's not actively being used.
Physically, you mean, like paper files?
Physically and digitally, but yeah, let's start physical. Tightly controlling who can access sensitive areas or files, locking things away, tracking who accesses what, and critically, getting rid of sensitive information properly when it's no longer needed, promptly and effectively destroying it.
Not just tossing it in the bin.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes shredding confidential documents. Don't just throw them out. That covers the physical life cycle.
So it's the whole life cycle, not just keeping people out. Okay, what about the digital gates? The access controls for our digital Fort Knox.
Well, on the digital side, a lot of it comes down to practical everyday habits. Things employees need to do consistently, like using screensaver passwords or server passwords whenever they step away from their computer. Seems simple, but it stops casual snooping or unauthorized access, and passwords themselves. They need to be changed periodically. They need to be strong, unique, not password 123.
We all know someone who does that.
Right. And the system itself should help. It should monitor login attempts, limit them. That can flag brute force attacks really quickly. It's a crucial automated defense.
Okay, so that's data at rest. But what about when it needs to move? Sending it internally or maybe sharing it with partners? That seems like where the risk really jumps up.
That raises a really important question, doesn't it? Are you using strong encryption when you transmit sensitive data? It's absolutely critical. Protects data moving across networks, stops eavesdropping. Think of it like sending a sealed, unbreakable vault instead of an open postcard.
Yeah, good analogy.
And then there's backup. Regularly backing up files, storing them somewhere safe with access limited to specific people. That's essential against data loss from, disasters or attacks.
And storing some offsite, too.
Definitely. Having some backup stored off-site, that dramatically reduces the risk of losing everything if there's a problem at your main location, like a fire or even a targeted attack. It's all about redundancy, resilience.
Let's pivot a bit now to the technical infrastructure itself, the IT backbone. What does the source tell us about safeguarding the actual systems and software?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. It really comes down to control and vigilance here. First off, a clear, written policy banning software piracy. Unauthorized copying, distribution, big no. And just as important, a policy against downloading unauthorized software onto company machines.
Why is that so critical? Just bloatware or...
Oh, it's much worse than bloatware. The reason it's banned is that unauthorized software is a major hiding place for malware. One innocent-looking download can lead to a massive data breach. It turns a simple action into a major security incident.
Wow, okay.
And beyond just avoiding bad software, you need clear policies on data integrity, security, quality standards for all the IT software and hardware the organization uses, making sure everything is reliable and secure from the ground up.
So control what's on the network, ensure its quality. Got it. What about planning for the worst? System failures, power outages, that kind of thing.
That's where a disaster recovery plan comes in. It's absolutely paramount. It needs to lay out exactly what to do if disaster strikes, how to protect the data, the servers, the network, keep the business running. And alongside the plan, you need physical safeguards. Things like backup generators, surge protectors for computers, minimize data loss during power issues.
The basics.
And the absolute fundamental antivirus. Installed on every single computer, updated regularly. It has to keep up with evolving threats. It's not a magic bullet against everything new, sure, but it's a critical baseline defense you just can't skip.
And just managing all that software, keeping track, doing updates, sounds like a huge job in itself.
It absolutely is, which is why you need documented procedures for installing or updating any new software on the network. Controlled, recorded processes, and ideally have one person or one team designated to oversee these installations and upgrades, centralizes accountability, stops people just installing whatever they want.
Control.
Yeah. And part of that control is knowing what you have, compiling and maintaining an inventory of all authorized network devices, what's actually plugged into your system, and an inventory of all authorized software. It gives you a clear picture, helps you spot anything unusual or out of place immediately.
So this really boils down to preventing vulnerabilities right from the start, doesn't it? At the admin level, not just reacting after something happens.
Precisely. It's about proactive measures. Things like removing local administrator rights from most employees. That stops them installing unapproved software, whether they mean to cause harm or just make an innocent mistake.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Similarly, disabling auto run on company machines. That feature that automatically runs things from USB drives.
Yeah.
It's a super common way malware spreads. Turn it off.
Okay.
And a really direct control. Disabling the ability for employees to write data to external storage devices, like USB sticks, help stop data just walking out the door. These are all about closing common, easily exploited loopholes before an attack.
Okay. We've hit policies, physical security, IT systems, but often the people are the trickiest part, wouldn't you say? Especially now with remote work, personal devices. What does this deep dive tell us about managing human behavior in these new complexities?
Yeah, the human element. And remote work throws a big variable in there. It raises that key question: how do you manage company data when employees are using their own phones, tablets, laptops? The source really highlights the need for a bring your own device policy, a BYOD policy.
Ah, BYOD, always tricky.
It is. And the policy needs to be clearly developed, clearly communicated. Define what's acceptable use for personal devices for work. And it also recommends clear policies and procedures for using VPNs, remote access, even things like web-based email, instant messaging, cloud storage. You need to set clear digital boundaries for how work happens outside the traditional office walls, because the office isn't always a building anymore.
Right, setting boundaries for personal tech use. What about just general employee conduct with data, even on company machines, the simple things that can prevent breaches?
Exactly. Sometimes it's the simple stuff, like requiring employees to actually log off their computers when they leave their desks, or setting computers to auto-log off after a period of inactivity.
Prevents that opportunistic glance.
Precisely. But beyond that, employees need specific training on how to safely send emails or other communications with sensitive info. It's not always obvious, especially how easy sharing is now. And critically, training on handling outside threats, social engineering, attackers manipulating people, and phishing attempts those fake emails trying to trick you.
Yeah, those are everywhere.
They are. And training's where employees have those aha moments, when they understand why that weird email is dangerous and how they should react. Or not react, maybe.
You know, we often think about data sitting on a server. But what happens after it's created? Its life cycle. Especially when legal stuff comes into play.
Yes, that's a really good point. Organizations have to meticulously manage where their electronic documents are, both on-site and online. Track them, don't lose them. And there absolutely needs to be a written policy on electronic document retention and destruction. When you delete records, needs a schedule.
Okay.
But here's a crucial bit, often missed. Employees must know their responsibility when there's a legal hold, meaning even if a document is scheduled for deletion according to the policy, if there's a legal reason to keep it in an investigation, a lawsuit, it cannot be deleted. Ignoring that. Huge legal pitfalls, critical for compliance.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. This all sounds like, well, it's constant, isn't it? Not a one-time project. Check the boxes and you're done. What does the source say about continuous vigilance, staying ahead of the threats?
That's exactly right. It's ongoing, a mix of proactive and reactive. Any compromise, any suspected breach of proprietary info security, it has to be investigated promptly. Find the source. It's not just about prevention. You have to react quickly, figure out what went wrong, and learn from it. That feedback loop is vital for strengthening your defenses over time.
And how can organizations spot potential trouble before it becomes a full-blown crisis, before the breach actually happens? Are there telltale signs?
There often are. Monitoring computer activity, logging it, and investigating anything unusual that's key for spotting potential network breaches. And this needs to extend to reviewing access logs for all sources of intellectual property. Who's looking at what? Beyond just logs, you need to monitor trends, like in-company email. Are certain employees suddenly sending way more attachments than usual, especially after hours or on weekends?
Behavioral flags.
Exactly. Those could be indicators of someone trying to exfiltrate data. Same with monitoring network access, as someone trying to get into files they shouldn't, or logging in repeatedly at odd hours to access sensitive stuff. These anomalies, these behavioral shifts, can be strong warning signs. And of course, identifying and investigating any unauthorized software use, that's often a sign of a vulnerability being exploited or introduced.
So if we tie all this together, it really sounds like a truly holistic approach. Security that weaves in the human element at every stage, detection, prevention, not just seeing people as the weak link.
Precisely. It involves doing periodic risk assessments, continuously looking for new or increased risks to your proprietary information. That's how you stay dynamic, adapt to new threats. What was safe yesterday might not be today.
Always evolving.
Always. And even basic HR practices are part of this wider strategy. Things like using employee IDs other than social security numbers. Those are gold mines for identity thieves. And doing proper background checks on employees or even third parties who handle sensitive personal information. It all adds another layer of prevention. These seemingly small details, they all contribute to building a much larger, more robust security ecosystem.
So we've really taken a deep dive today, haven't we, into this whole complex world of preventing proprietary information theft. We've covered the policies, the physical security, the IT systems, that critical human element, and the need for constant monitoring, constant adaptation. Is definitely not a set-and-forget-it deal.
No, absolutely not. And I really want to emphasize, protecting this kind of information. It isn't just for the huge corporations with famous secret formulas. It's vital for any organization, really, regardless of size. Any organization that relies on unique ways of doing things or holds customer data or has any kind of competitive edge, it's fundamentally about being proactive, understanding where you're vulnerable, and building that strong security ecosystem that can actually adapt as the threats change.
Okay, so considering everything we've talked about today, here's something for you to think about. What's one, maybe seemingly small area of your own information security, could be personal, could be professional, that might be the most vulnerable right now? And what simple step could you take, maybe even right now, to make it a bit stronger? Maybe it's finally changing that weak password on an old account, or just setting your work computer to lock automatically when you walk away. Just something to consider. Thanks for diving deep with us.